I had a sneaky idea. I bought a pair of sunglasses and pretended to be a blind person. Then I went for an interview at a blind massage center. Since my skills were good, I managed to get the job successfully. I worked as a salesman during the day and pretended to be a blind masseur at night. At first, I thought that would be it. The money that I earned from being a blind masseur was enough to support my family. After working as a blind masseur for 2 weeks, my boss suddenly wanted to talk to me. Your customers all praise your good techniques. They say that you always make them feel very comfortable. I let out a sigh of relief. He then said, "Lucas, since you're doing great, I want to give you an opportunity. Do you want to earn more money?" I was momentarily stunned and immediately nodded. Of course. My boss nodded in satisfaction. I was a little excited. I saw he was staring at me. He suddenly reached out, and it seemed like he wanted to poke my eyes. I shivered and instinctively wanted to dodge. However, I stopped myself just in time. I was pretending to be blind. I should not be able to see anything. If I moved, it would give away the truth. His fingers stopped right before my eyes. As I remained motionless, he nodded and grabbed my hands. He said, "Lucas, we provide a hidden service on the top floor. You're in this industry, so you know that some people are more sensitive when they're being massaged. Some of them feel pleasure from it, right?" I nodded. I learned that when I was in vocational school. Besides, during the 2 weeks that I was here, I met customers who were a bit more sensitive than others. They could not bear the stimulation from the massage after a short while. Those who are on the top floor are our VIPs. You have to be careful not to provoke them. If they like your service, you'd be able to earn a lot of money. A little tip from them might be worth more than your salary. My eyes widened behind my sunglasses. It sounded too good to be true. I gulped and immediately said, "Don't worry. I'll do my best." "Good. You can head to the top floor tomorrow. I have high hopes for you." He patted my shoulder and left. I clenched my fist in excitement after he left. After work the next day, I rushed to the massage center. Someone led me to the top floor and into a room. I was shocked when I looked at the furnishings. The room looked very luxurious. An average person would not be able to afford something like this. "Lucas, get ready. The VIP is almost here." The supervisor came in to inform me. I nodded and stood by the door. I lowered my head as I waited, and after a while the door opened. I saw a pair of long legs wrapped in black pantyhose. She was wearing a pair of high heels too. I kept my head low as I said respectfully, "Good evening, miss. I'm Monsieur number 888. I look forward to serving you today. Are you new?" she asked as she stood before me. I nodded. "Yes, Mississippi, look up," she said. I raised my head. Through the sunglasses, I met her eyes. I was completely dumbfounded. Camila Dunn. I could not believe it. Camila was the CEO of our company. Almost all male colleagues fantasized about her. I was no exception. I was a normal man after all, even though I was married. It stirred some feelings in me whenever I saw a beautiful woman like Camila, but I had not expected to see her here. "Take off your sunglasses. I don't like when people talk to me with sunglasses on," Camila said coldly. I trembled, but I still took off the sunglasses. My eyes were lifeless and unfocused as I stared in front of me. To get hired at this massage center, I had spent a lot of time learning how to pretend to be a blind person. Camila stared intently into my eyes. I did not even dare to blink. She finally looked away just when my eyes were getting sore. I let out a sigh of relief. It was fortunate that I was not very well known in our company as a CEO. She did not know about me. "You look handsome now. Let me see your skills." After she said that, she started to take off her clothes right in front of me. I gulped as she tossed her clothes away. Finally, she was wearing her birthday suit. She lay down on the massage bed. I kept reminding myself not to give anything away. Then I started massaging her. Camila's skin was very soft and smooth to the touch. I massaged as usual, but after a while, Camila seemed dissatisfied. "What are you doing? Didn't your boss teach you how to do this?" I was surprised. Before I could react, she took my hands and pressed them against her lower back. I swallowed hard as my trembling hands started to massage that area. Although I had somewhat guessed this was the type of hidden service on the top floor from what my boss had told me yesterday, I still felt nervous when I actually started doing it. As I continued massaging her, she began to relax. After a while, I could hardly keep myself composed as I looked at her serene expression. I gave my best, and she shivered a few times, clearly pleased with my skills. "You're really good at this," she said after I finished. Camila took a moment to compose herself, and then started smoking. I stood respectfully at her side. She blew a smoke ring in my direction, took out a wad of cash, and placed it on the massage bed. I didn't look at the money at all. I was cautious, suspecting she might be testing me. As expected, I noticed her watching me from the corner of her eye. When she saw I didn't react, she nodded, satisfied. "This is your tip. I'll request your services again next time." She placed the money in my hand. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She was very cautious. I pretended to feel the thickness of the stack of cash, and then put on a surprised expression as I thanked her. "Thank you very much." Camila waved her hand, dismissing me. I took the money and slowly left the room. Once outside, I looked at the cash in my hand. It was about $5,000. I found it a bit unbelievable to have received such a large tip for just giving a special massage. I took a deep breath and put the cash in my pocket before heading back to the lounge. After a while, my boss called me in and praised me. He said the client was very pleased with my performance and kept encouraging me to keep up the good work. I, of course, readily agreed. My boss didn't schedule any other clients for me after my session with Camila. It seemed that few clients paid for the top floor service. It was more about quality than quantity. I went home after my shift, but the attractive image of Camila lingered in my mind. I didn't even bother to shower, releasing my pent-up tension with my wife. The next day, I went to my full-time job as usual. But when I reached the office building and was about to enter, I saw Camila arriving by car. I panicked and immediately turned around. Camila didn't notice me as she parked, and I sighed in relief. I needed to avoid her in the office. Otherwise, she might be surprised to find out she was being served by a simple salesman like me. I finished my shift feeling anxious and went straight to my other job. Upon arriving at the massage center, I calmed myself down and prepared for the evening. To my surprise, Camila showed up again right after I had changed into my uniform. She'd had a massage yesterday, so why was she back today? Was she really that interested? I cast a quick glance at her, but when she turned around, I unfocused my eyes and began the session. After yesterday's experience, I was already familiar with her body and knew her sensitive spots. I started with a light warm-up before using my main techniques. Camila sighed softly under my touch. However, toward the end of the massage, she suddenly turned around and pushed me against the massage bed. I was surprised. Though I had imagined scenarios with her before, I had never dared to act on them. But Camila seemed to have lost her composure. She brushed my hands away and tried to pull on my pants. I held onto my pants firmly and quickly said no. I don't offer that type of service. Her eyes briefly regained some clarity, but when she noticed my nervousness in a non-threatening way, her interest returned. "Don't you want to? I'll pay you $10,000 for it," she offered, her voice dripping with temptation. I hesitated but still shook my head. $20,000. My heart raced. $30,000. Camila showed no hesitation. I swallowed hard. $50,000, she whispered, leaning closer. She seemed almost offended by my refusal as she looked at me and, with a soft sigh, leaned in as if to kiss me. As Camila leaned in to kiss me, a shiver ran down my spine. It was a dangerous line, a point of no return. The thought of $50,000 kept echoing in my mind, tempting me, but something deep inside held me back. I took a subtle step backward, trying to refuse without causing a scene, but in that instant, I saw her expression change. Her face, which had been alluring and seductive, transformed completely. She became cold, calculating, and alarmingly observant. Camila kept her gaze on me, eyes narrowing as if she were piecing together a puzzle. I felt the tension in the room rise, and she raised an eyebrow, a cruel smile starting to spread across her lips. "Interesting," she murmured, crossing her arms and studying me like I was some kind of specimen. "Tell me, Lucas, why did you back away?" She paused, her gaze fixed on mine. Or better yet, how did you know I was so close? That was when panic set in. I could feel my face flush as my stomach dropped, realizing I had just betrayed my disguise. She was one step away from putting everything together, and I struggled to keep my expression neutral. I could feel cold sweat beading on my back. I desperately searched for an excuse, anything to explain my behavior, but before I could open my mouth, she laughed, a dry, knowing laugh that sent a chill through me. "You really thought you could fool me? Pretending to be blind to get a job?" She shook her head, each word laced with contempt. "That's pathetic." My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what was happening. How had she figured it out? Had someone reported me? Or had she known all along and was just waiting for this moment to confront me? I felt my mouth go dry as shame and fear paralyzed me. But before I could even attempt to defend myself, Camila turned and snapped her fingers, her authority cutting through the air like a blade. The door opened behind me, and two security guards stepped in, their expressions cold and emotionless as they fixed their gaze on me. I was trapped, and any hope of talking my way out was gone. She was in complete control, and anything I said or did would only make things worse. "I knew from the start that you were a fraud, Lucas," she said, looking at me with barely concealed disgust. "This job, this position, it was all a test. You were nothing but a little rat in my experiment." Those words hit me like a slap in the face. All my efforts to provide for my family and sustain my dual employment now felt like a bitter joke. I was starting to realize that every wrong decision I'd made had led me straight into this trap, and now I was entirely at her mercy. Camila took a step closer, relishing my expression of defeat, her gaze filled with disdain. She looked me over as if I were a broken toy, something she could discard at will. With a casual gesture, she signaled for the guards to take hold of me. One of them gripped my arm firmly, while the other positioned himself to block any escape. I was completely cornered. "You know, Lucas," Camila continued, her voice laced with scorn, "there's nothing more despicable than a liar who thinks he can get away with it. Did you really believe you could pretend to be blind and I, of all people, wouldn't notice?" I struggled to speak, shame and desperation choking my words. "Camila, please. I needed this job. My family relies on this money." She laughed, a cold, mocking sound that cut through any illusion of mercy. "Oh, so now you want me to feel sorry for you?" She gave me a look of pure contempt. "Sympathy is for honest people, Lucas, not for liars and opportunists. Do you think you're special? Well, let me show you what happens to people like you." She waved her hand dismissively, and the guards began to drag me out of the room. Panic overwhelmed me. I knew that if she wanted to, she could ruin every part of my life, professionally, personally, financially. Everything I had worked to build could be destroyed with a single word from her. I tried to pull my arm free, but the guard's grip was unyielding, while Camila watched, utterly satisfied with her power over me. As they led me down the corridor, my mind was spinning. She hadn't just discovered my lie. She was prepared to make me pay for it. And I was finally starting to see that every foolish decision I had made, from pretending to be blind to rejecting her kiss, had been carefully manipulated by her to bring me to this humiliating point. I felt like a puppet, with every move controlled by her, leading me toward my downfall. The guards threw me out of the building, shutting the door in my face, leaving me stunned, Camila's words still ringing in my ears. I felt a knot tightening in my throat, the weight of the situation settling over me like a ton of bricks. I was finished. I knew that even if I tried to find work elsewhere, Camila's influence would make sure no one would hire me. It was only a matter of time before word got around. I walked home slowly, each step heavier than the last. My mind was a whirlwind of anger, shame, and despair. I had failed not only as a professional, but as a husband and provider. How could I face my wife? How would she react when she learned not only that I had lost my job, but that our entire life was about to collapse because of my lies? Camila's proposal came as an unexpected shock a few days after the incident. She sent me a direct, cold, and clear message. $100,000 for one last massage, Lucas. After that, I never want to see your face again. My stomach churned as I read it. $100,000. That amount was impossible to ignore, but accepting it would mean submitting myself to one more round of her cruel games. Yet the temptation was unbearable. I could pay off all my debts, set aside savings, and maybe even try to rebuild my life. The dilemma gnawed at me, and that evening, beside my wife, I rehearsed a feeble excuse. I told her I had a last-minute work engagement and would be home late. She raised an eyebrow, seeming slightly suspicious, but then relaxed and smiled. "All right, love, I'm going out too. One of the girls invited me for a girls-only night. Enjoy your work." Her words unsettled me in a way I couldn't explain, but I did my best to hide the tension. She seemed unusually at ease, and I didn't yet know that it would be the last night I would share a truth with her. On the way to the massage center, my mind was racing. I knew that accepting Camila's game meant submitting myself to her whims one last time, but the money was irresistible. When I arrived, a receptionist greeted me and directed me straight to the top floor, where the client was already waiting. My heart was pounding, and the sense of discomfort was almost tangible. When I entered the room, the ambience was different. Dim lighting, soft music in the background, and a faint floral aroma created an intimate, elegant atmosphere. The client was already lying on the massage table, and I noticed she was blindfolded, which struck me as odd, but I considered it just another one of Camila's games. I swallowed hard and approached her. I began the massage, doing my best to stay composed and not reveal my discomfort. Her skin was soft to the touch, and every movement seemed meticulously planned to keep the session as professional as possible. She let out a gentle sigh, as though surrendering to the relaxation. It was evident she was enjoying it, and for a moment I tried to block out my thoughts, focusing only on finishing the job and getting out of there. But as the minutes passed, an unsettling feeling grew inside me. The woman moved as if she were completely comfortable, and her body responded to my touch in a way I hadn't expected. With each movement, each touch, she sighed more intensely, almost as if she were fully surrendering to the experience. Something about her behavior disturbed me profoundly, and I began to feel a knot forming in my stomach. There was something uncomfortably familiar in her reactions. Suddenly, it dawned on me. Each gesture, each reaction, each detail of her body reminded me of someone I knew intimately. I tried to push the thought away, but it became clearer and clearer. Her perfume, the subtle movements, it was as if my body recognized this person before my mind did. My hands suddenly froze, and a wave of panic washed over me. My heart raced, and the realization hit me like a fatal blow. I was massaging my own wife. A chill ran down my spine and my body went rigid. Everything made sense now. Camila, with her subtle cruelty, had planned every detail to place me in this humiliating, excruciating situation. This was her final revenge, the ultimate humiliation. It wasn't just payback for my attempt to deceive her by pretending to be blind. It was her way of showing me just how vulnerable and powerless I was under her control. She had invited my wife, gifted her this prize of an exclusive massage experience, knowing it would be me in the room without her knowing. My wife lay there, motionless, enjoying every second, while I fought to keep my composure. The irony of the situation hit me like a slap in the face. I knew she was enjoying it, that she was experiencing something that clearly pleased her, and it hurt in ways I could never explain. The idea that she was surrendering so naturally to the massage, unaware that it was me, stirred up a mix of anger and pain within me. Finally, I finished the massage. My heart was pounding, and every fiber of my being screamed to get out of that room as quickly as possible. As I pulled back, my wife let out a soft sigh, still relaxed, and I knew I would never be able to look at her the same way again. I left the room feeling like a complete fool, as though every wrong decision I had made had led me straight to rock bottom, all because of Camila's cunning manipulation. Leaving the building, I wandered the streets aimlessly, still in shock, trying to process everything. I had been used, betrayed, and humiliated, and my wife, unknowingly, was at the center of this twisted game. What hurt the most was realizing that, not knowing it was me, she had completely given herself over to the experience. It was a bitter truth that I couldn't shake. Later, at home, I sat on the couch, drowning in heavy silence. After a while, My wife came home, smiling, as if returning from a light, fun night out. She avoided making eye contact and casually offered an excuse about where she'd been, unaware that I knew everything. That was the last straw for me. I realized that the marriage I had fought so hard to maintain was already in ruins. That silent, unintentional betrayal was the final blow. I stood up, and before she could say anything, I asked for a divorce. Her face turned to one of surprise and confusion, and she tried to understand what was happening. But I had no explanations left to give. I didn't want to talk, didn't want to argue. I simply pulled away, gathered my things, and walked out of that house without looking back. The pain of the silent betrayal and Camila's cruel game still echoed in my mind, but what weighed on me the most was knowing I would never be able to forget what my wife had done, even though she hadn't known it was me.